So I think the gold industry frequently looks at the short term. But what we've done recently, the World Gold Council was formed 30 years ago, and we took that opportunity to take stock. What factors led us to where we are, and what might that mean going forward? And I think the major change or one of the major changes in the gold market is its increased diversity. Basically, on the demand side, you have a far greater range of people buying gold for a far greater range of purposes than any time in human history. And that has helped fuel a growth market. So actually, if you look at the gold market in 1987, it was concentrated. Supply was based in a small number of countries. It was relatively inaccessible. There were a large number of countries where gold ownership was illegal, or certainly was regulated to make it very difficult to buy gold. That has changed. So I think if you look at the gold market now, it's a growth market. It's a market that's very much aligned to mega trends, to the big trends in social and economic development, particularly in the developing world. And it is far more trusted as an asset. So I think those are key elements of why gold over the last 30 years has evolved, and the market, I think, is far more robust than it was. If you look at global production has grown as the market has grown. Actually, Australian production has grown even further. If we look again at the 30 years since the World Gold Council has existed, you see that I think that the Australian mining sector has flourished. So it's been part of that global diversification of supply, and I think it is often seen as an industry leader in many aspects. One of the challenges, I think, is for it to be a relatively competitive source of gold on a cost basis. But nonetheless, I think if you look at trusted jurisdictions, established advanced skill sets, Australian mining is at the forefront. And again, that recognition that gold and gold mining has an impact and contribution to make to the general economy or local economies, I think is fairly embedded in Australia. Well, I won't talk about any particular company because, frankly, we're a council of gold miners, and so we don't specify any particular company. But in terms of sustainability and responsible practice, I think if you look at the big shift in mining generally, but in gold mining in particular, you've seen how increasingly at a very senior level, sustainability issues, responsible sourcing issues have suddenly become on the agenda from CEO downward. And I think it was very heartening to see here at IMARC that a lot of the major CEOs were speaking, and sustainability, responsible sourcing, responsible business practice was right at the heart of their agendas. The question about what is responsible investing, or what you might want to call the nature of the debate has changed with investors. And I think if you look at the last 2 years, frankly, the agendas have shifted massively. The priorities have changed. So I think previously we talked about socially responsible investing, ethical investing, green investing. Actually, institutional investors at a very senior leadership level are now looking at all assets, not just mining, and saying, okay, do these assets meet certain criteria in terms of our responsible ethical commitments or environmental commitments going forward? And I think the scale of that investment and the scale of the challenges, meaning if you do not adapt, you'll probably find the capital may be withdrawn, or certainly may become more expensive. I think that has changed, and it's sharpened the minds of the mining sector more generally, and for us gold mining in particular. But I think it's certainly an opportunity, because it means that you can build competitive advantage, basically, if you are seen as a leader in the kind of responsible business practices in terms of how you apply those to your general operations. For the World Gold Council, key for us is basically to ensure there is a heightened standard of discussion and debate around gold, and that is a primary objective. But what it means is, for us, it's a coherent vision of the market from mine to market, from the gold mine to how the gold is consumed and invested. Basically, for us, we need to engage across the supply chain. So being here, talking to the people who mine gold is key, and then seeing how their business, their vision is aligned with the broader market. That is key for us to understand how we formulate strategy in our business going forward.